Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks so much for joining us for today's episode of the TypeAlias Show live stream. Today, we're going to look at some of the exciting updates for Jetpack Compose and for Compose Multiplatform. We've got Kotlin Notebooks that are now a part of IntelliJ's Community Edition. So we'll see all sorts of cool things that we can do with those. And of course, we're going to catch up on all the latest news in the Kotlin and Android worlds, all that and a whole lot more. So thank you for joining us. As always, with me today behind the scenes is my lovely producer, who also happens to be my wife, Elizabeth. So we got a round of applause for the producer. Yeah, all right. So one of my favorite parts about doing live streams is the chat. So everybody say hello to me in chat. And feel free to ask questions during live stream. And if someone else asks a question and you know the answer, feel free to respond to them. That's a big help to me and the person asking, since I can't always get to every question. So everyone say hello to each other in the chat, and let me know if you're planning on being at KotlinConf this year. Then let me know, because we're looking forward to seeing you there. It's hard to believe, but it's only like a little over a week away. And in fact, Google I/O is even happening before that. And it's really like they put them right next to each other on the calendar. So I guess if you like hop a plane at just the right time, you might be able to attend both of them in person, but it would be a little tight. They're literally back to back. But of course, we don't have to attend both of them in person. There are usually streams, at least of the keynotes, and they eventually get around to publishing the videos for the individual sessions too. Although you might have to wait for those sometimes to get edited. So Elizabeth and I are both going to be at KotlinConf this year. I'm really excited about it. I have not been since 2017, the very first KotlinConf, when it was in San Francisco here in the US. And I tell you what, a lot has changed in the Kotlin world since then. So again, if you are going to be in KotlinConf this year, let me know in chat so that we can know to be on the lookout for you. We'll probably just set aside some time at like the coffee station or somewhere so that we can just hang out with you all and talk to you. We'll post on all the usual social channels to let you know what we're up to during the event. And if you're trying to find us, just look for a Mr. Grumpy Recalcitrant Man on a t-shirt. Actually, I've got him here, I think. Let's see. Yeah, here's this is going to be Elizabeth's t-shirt. She's got Mr. Grumpy with the TypeAlias Studios on there. And I think I've got one like that, and another one that's got just the agents on the back and just TypeAlias Studios on the front. So anyway, so hoping that'll make it a little bit easier for you to spot us. I'm like 6'4", so usually you can spot me pretty easily. I'm not super tall, but I am tall, so should make it easier for you to find me and flag me down. Now, we couldn't just go to KotlinConf and not bring a little bit of free swag of some kind. So you might remember last time that we had a live stream, we had we put up a poll about which of the characters from like the book and the videos that you guys would want to see on a sticker. And you can see here at the top left, that was during the live stream. We had Archimedes kind of came out ahead there. And then I also afterward put it out as just like a regular post on YouTube for everyone to kind of chime in, even folks who couldn't be at the live stream. And it was similar, but Mr. Grumpy actually ended up coming out ahead there as well. So Elizabeth and I were like, we like all these characters, and so what are we going to do? So we decided we would just get both Archimedes and Mr. Grumpy. So we're going to have both of these for you. And you just come up to us, and we've got I think we got 60 of each, and you're welcome to either one or both if you want. And so we're looking forward to handing those out to you. We just couldn't decide between the two of them, so we just figured, hey, let's just get both. All right, I know not everyone's going to be able to be at KotlinConf, so we'll figure out if maybe we can find a way to make the stickers available in like the TypeAlias shop as well, where we got the merchandise and stuff. But that'll be after KotlinConf, but maybe we can look into that too. And before I forget, hey, I wanted to really thank everyone for picking up the print edition of the illustrated guide. It's been really fun to see the warm reception that you all gave it. Thank you so much for the kind ratings and reviews. And if you have read it and enjoyed it, do consider leaving a review. And if you don't have time to just like write a review, that's fine too. You can also just leave a star rating, even without the review. It's super quick that way. But either way, thank you so much. It's a big help for us reaching more people, and I'm really thankful for the just the warm welcome that you all gave that book in print. So thank you very much for that. All right, let's see what we've got going on in chat. A lot of people saying hello. We have, yeah, man, everyone's saying hello. Wow. Yes. All right, and we got Anton here. Thank you so much for being here. We're looking forward to getting to see you at KotlinConf for sure. I'll have to double check and see which sessions. I'm guessing you're doing at least one talk there, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. All right, so there are like so many amazing things happening in advance of KotlinConf and Google I/O. So we got tons of news to cover. So we're going to go ahead and jump into all of this. Let's pull up the thing here. So the first one is this is huge. I'm like really excited. This is a big announcement. So Compose Multiplatform 1.8 is released, and with that, Compose Multiplatform for iOS is stable and production ready. Yeah, there we go. Is really exciting. I have been eagerly awaiting this one. And this means that you can use Compose to build your mobile app for both Android and iOS, and it's going to be production ready for both of those targets. And with this, of course, you can share not just your behind the scenes code, but also your user interface. And historically, I've tended to lean a little more toward like the fully native UIs. So I've seen Kotlin as a great way to share the code behind the UI. But I tend to be a little reluctant to embrace a lot of the cross-platform UI tooling. And I think a big reason for that historically has been the distance that it puts between you and the native target. And you've got a lot of tools like React Native, Xamarin, Flutter, and they've all had different levels of success over different spaces of time. But with each one of them, I felt like I was getting a little too far away from the native platform. And when I've needed to like open the hatch to get into the underlying platform, it's always been a little bit of a challenge. I had a friend of mine once say that when you build an Android and iOS app, you've got two platforms to deal with, but when you're building like with a cross-platform UI tool, you now have three different platforms to deal with, right? You have both iOS and Android, and then React Native or Xamarin or whatever. And I ever since I heard that, I was like, yeah, that resonates for me. But I will say I feel a lot more comfortable with Compose as a multi-platform UI solution because you're doing the fully native thing on one platform on Android, and the interop has been in progress for quite a while on iOS. So you're really still just kind of dealing with two platforms, and you're staying pretty close to those native platforms. So I'm really optimistic about Compose multi-platform for mobile apps, and I've got an app that I work on that I'm interested in trying to pull in Compose and kind of see how that does for the iOS side, because I think it would be a good solution for that one. So anyway, but this article announced all of that. I want to scroll down here to the performance section and talk a little bit about some of the notes they had here for this one. They're mentioning that the startup time is similar to the fully native app on iOS. The scrolling performance is also on par with UI, which is good. And yes, scrolling's got to be smooth, or the users will know something is off for sure. And then Compose multi-platform adds only about 9 megabytes to the size of an iOS app compared to a fully native SwiftUI app doing the same thing. And that's still, it's not nothing. It's something, right? 9 megs is still a jump in size, but it's way better than some of the other cross-platform solutions that I've worked with, where it's like close to, I don't know, like 30 to 50 megs or so. All right, let's see here. We got a new KMP plugin is coming soon for IntelliJ IDEA and Android Studio with support for previews and common code. That will be really nice. Now they mentioned Compose Hot Reload here, and I did want to point out, because I feel like this one might have been a little bit confusing for some folks. Let me hit the play button on here just so you can kind of see what's going on with this. But Compose Hot Reload, it works on the JVM. So you've got to target Compose for desktop. So what they're doing in this video is they're building the KotlinConf app in like to work on mobile and also on desktop. And then while developing, they've got, you can see on the right hand side there, they've got the desktop version of it so they can see the changes immediately. So if you want to use hot reload, just keep that in mind. The way that you build your app is going to still need to target desktop just because of the particular tech that you. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry if the I think our audio is getting a little bit out, so hopefully we'll even out here again. So if you want to get started with Compose, you can go to the let's pull up the KMP kmp.jetbrains.com. I believe that's it. And here you can see they've actually, this looks like it has actually been recently updated. This is great. So yeah, you can get started with it here, and that'll get you going. Next up, we have some updates for Kotlin on the web, and JetBrains recently published this article that covers Kotlin JavaScript and Kotlin WebAssembly. And I will admit, I've been watching Kotlin JavaScript with a little bit of concern for a while. It kind of dropped off the multi-platform wizard at some point, and I wasn't really sure if that meant it was going to receive a little less attention or anything. And I was honestly even kind of wondering if that might end up retiring it or something, and just encouraging everyone to move toward WebAssembly. But in this article, they actually share some of their plans for both JavaScript and WebAssembly targets. But one of my favorite parts about the article is here, where they talk about the purpose and the intent of supporting both targets. So, for example, you might have some business logic in your mobile apps that you also want to share with your web apps. Well, they call out Kotlin JavaScript as a great choice for that one. But then for other cases, if you're going to do something where you're sharing the entire UI across mobile and web targets, for example, then Kotlin WebAssembly is a great fit for that. So thankfully, my concerns around the JavaScript target have been assuaged. They mention a little bit more down here about improving on the KMP support. I'm guessing this is probably with the same plugin that we were just reading about. Includes adding a wizard here for creating a new KMP project targeting the web platform. And so, yeah, down here they announced that they're promoting. Let's see, where is that? Oh, yeah, here it is. Yep. Promoting WebAssembly Target and Compose multi-platform for web to beta. So this is really exciting to see this. And I'm thinking, I don't know, but I'm thinking maybe by next year's conference, maybe we could very well be building apps that work across mobile, desktop, and web with all of those targets fully stable. We'll see, but that's pretty encouraging to see the progress happening on this. And I am pretty happy with where the WebAssembly target is at this point. The browsers all need to support the WebAssembly garbage collection, which they point out down here is now in all major browsers as of December, which is still pretty recent, but I think most people will update their browsers pretty quickly. And definitely by the time we get to stable on Kotlin WebAssembly, I think most users will have those browsers installed. In the meantime, they are introducing a compatibility mode for kind of a JavaScript fallback if the garbage collection feature is not available there. So that's pretty cool. And they mentioned down here also that the version of JavaScript that they're targeting is going to be only the recent version. So ES5 is like 15 or 16 years old at this point. And so your Kotlin JavaScript code will soon be compiling or transpiling, if you prefer, to a more modern version and using Babel for older browsers if you need that. And then down here, you can just see a handful of other updates that are on the horizon. So I don't know about you, but I am really excited to see the web targets getting a lot more love. So let's see what we've got for you guys here. If you got any thoughts on this. Let's see. What do you think about strong skipping mode enabled by default with Kotlin 1020 for Jetpack Compose? I do not know. I do not have any real thoughts on that. I'm not entirely sure what the strong skipping mode is there. So yeah, sorry about that one. But yes, definitely excited about these updates here. We've got more in the UI space, especially with Compose 1.8 came along as well recently, and that's got, and this is Jetpack Compose I'm talking about now, just to be clear. So we talked about Compose 1.8, bringing the iOS target to stable, but now on the Android side, where we just call it Jetpack Compose 1.8, new neat features there as well. I wanted to point out the autofill, which users have gotten pretty good at typing on a smartphone keyboard, but it's still kind of error prone. So with this update, you can specify the type of content that should go in a particular text field, and if that user's device has an autofill service, like say LastPass, for example, then it can know how to fill that type automatically. It's really helpful for handling mailing addresses and that kind of thing. And they don't show it here. Let me zoom in a little. This is a little small. They don't show it here, but you can specify it also with a plus. You can use a plus operator to combine them. So here they just show content type dot username, but you can do content type dot username plus content type dot email, for example. So that way it'll work with both of them. And then the autofill values that are available on the user's device show up just as a like a little chip at the top of this soft keyboard. So that's how that's going to work. This part here, I'm going to back it out a little bit so you can see the image. This one is auto size for text, and this is pretty cool too. If you need to like fill up a region of space with text, you can do that. You can customize it with the smallest and largest font sizes that you want, and you can even configure how it kind of ratchets up as well. So that's pretty cool new feature. We've got increased API stability, and this is where a lot of the features that have been marked with the add experimental annotation have been promoted out of the experimental state. That's actually, they say here, over 100 that they promoted out, which is great because it kind of felt for a little while like everything was experimental, right? So that's nice for them to make that change. Now they did also, some things didn't go forward to stable. Some of them got deprecated. I have not personally used the contextual flow row or contextual flow column, but if you are using those, just know that those are getting the boot. All right. We also have some updates for Android Studio Meerkat. As usual, there are lots of AI features. Here we've got analyzing crash reports with Gemini. They've got generating test scenarios. This is just kind of generating the stubs for your test cases. They also introduced a prompt library, so if you find yourself typing a lot of the same prompts over and over, you can just store them in your library for quick access. Down here, we've got some updates to the Compose previews. They've got the zoom to selection, which is pretty nice. The collapsible group is a cool idea. They're showing it here in this little animation, but I have not seen that, so I don't know if that got pulled out last minute. But I do have like a little drop down top left where you can choose your group. And they mentioned that the grid is now the default, which I do like. I kind of want the whole preview window to feel a little more like Figma. Like I don't know if you've ever used Figma, but I guess you can kind of do some of that. You can kind of like hold the space bar and middle mouse button and move the canvas around. But I'd love to be able to pinch and zoom. And on Mac, when I use the two fingers to scroll around, it does either vertical or horizontal scrolling, but can't precisely do diagonals or whatever. But it's still great. But yeah, sometimes still hoping for a little more of that just kind of loose and fast and loose scrolling that you get in Figma. A few other updates down here. New Kotlin Multiplatform shared module template. So if you're creating a new module, you can now get a head start on the KMP. A little bit of updates to the UX for the device manager, and also we've got just some changes to the build menu down here. And I did want to call out probably one of the more exciting things I think is that this one's going to be this one is based on 2024.3, and so now you've got K2 mode, like feature complete K2 mode available in Android Studio. All right, that should about do it for the new segment. That was a lot to go through. All really exciting stuff, and we will actually next jump into some of the notebook features. So you probably know that for years, Kotlin Notebooks have been a feature that's been exclusive to IntelliJ IDEA Ultimate Edition. And I think it was last month, they released Notebooks as a feature for Community Edition also. So that means everybody can use them now. And personally, I am thrilled about it. Last year, I remember JetBrains announced in, I think, November that they were kind of reevaluating some of their scripting tooling. And I was a little bit concerned because I used Scratch files and what's the other one? Worksheets, I think. Just because kind of a fun way to poke around with code. But with notebooks, we get basically a lot of the same benefits of a REPL, of a read, execute, print loop, but with a lot more power and flexibility. So I thought it would be a great time to take a closer look at this feature. So let me pull up my screen again here, and you'll see we can just create a notebook, and I'm zoomed in, which is why we're getting a little bit of that weird angle there. Let's do that. And just create a new Kotlin notebook. I'm just going to call this one notebook. Go ahead and add that to Git. And let me zoom back in so you can see a little bit better here. So you create a notebook exactly like you expect, you give it a name, and you are ready to go. Now, notebooks have one or more of these boxes, and these are called cells. And each cell is either code or it's markdown. And you can create markdown by hitting this button, or code by hitting the button over here. So you can add your titles and things like that. You can easily delete them. But let's start with the code, and let's just create a new variable here. I'm just going to say favorite number is 5. And we can hit the play button over here to the left of the cell. And you can see it tells us that it's running. Give it a moment here. And we're going to end up with a green check mark indicating that it's completed. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more here, see if that works. Green check mark indicated that's completed. You get a duration here, 228 milliseconds. And then we got the number in the brackets, which tells us the order that it was executed in. So we're going to come back to this in a minute because this is actually really, really important. And let's see, the last thing in a cell can be an expression, and when it is, the notebook is going to print out that expression. So, for example, if we just say favorite number here and give this a run, now we're going to see the number 5 down here because it evaluated favorite number. So that's really easy. And we can introduce a new cell again by just clicking on code down here. You can also click on code cell below right there. And let's do another one. We can also do favorite number down here, and you can see it's going to remember. I'll just take it off this one here. And it's going to remember that this already exists. So I can run this, and we get 5 down here now. So as you can see, the variable that is declared in our other cell up here is available to use down here. Now, I do have to point out, if you're using the current version of IntelliJ IDEA, I was getting lots of unresolved references. So for example, this favorite number here wouldn't resolve in the second cell. And there is an open ticket about that, and I think they're planning on fixing that in the next patch version. But I did notice in the meantime that if we turn off K2 mode, so let's see, yep, here it is, this one that says enable K2 mode. If you turn that off for now, that's a workaround that'll get you going until they get the full fix in for it, which hopefully will be here pretty soon. Okay, now the cool thing about notebooks is that the state is saved all along the way. And in some cases, or in some ways, you could almost think about it as if it's like there's kind of like a breakpoint in your execution. Each time you run a cell, like it just kind of saves the state from whatever it was that you ran last. And so you can run these in whatever order that you want. So I'm going to create a new cell down here, and I'm just going to reassign favorite number to 7. And we can run that here, and then we can come back up to the second cell and run it here, and we get 7 now. So it just kind of saves that state across these different cells. And what matters is not so much the order that these cells are positioned in on your screen inside this notebook, but the order in which you run the cells. So we can move things up or down, and it doesn't really matter. Even if this favorite number were up above here, that would be fine as well. In fact, this makes for a pretty fascinating characteristic where we can say redeclare the variable by using var there as well, and it totally works. We can totally still do that. And so if we run back up there, we get 5. We run down here, we get 7. So I know I'm just kind of pointing all this out to say that like the big thing that's important is the order in which you run the cells. So just keep that in mind as you're moving forward on this stuff. Now we can clear out the state. Like I said, the state kind of stays active through your entire session, and you can restart the kernel to clear out all that state. Just hit that button right there. And we can also remove the output by hitting that little broom icon right there. Now, when we clear the state, you can see that the favorite number right here is grayed out. It says it's not yet provided, and that's because we haven't run any of these cells just yet. So if I were to try to click in here, for example, say it's not resolved, and so if I ran it right now, it'd be unresolved. But if I come down here and run it down here and then come back, everything's good. So, all right. So the number in brackets becomes really important because it affects the order, or it indicates the order that you were running them in. And so since you can run them in whatever order you want, like you sometimes need to be able to look down and see what order you ran it in to know what's already in context. Now you can also use some special keywords. I believe. Actually, let me go ahead and hit help right here. Control Enter. And that gives us a kind of a nice helpful output like you might usually see on a command line. It tells us the version numbers for everything. The command here is help. We've got others like class path and the variables here. It's got some line magic, which we will get to in a minute. We're especially going to be using this use keyword quite a bit. And then down here, it's got a list of supported libraries. And so the libraries, you can either pull in, like if they have a special supported library, if it's like created specially for the notebooks feature, then you want to use that one because it gives you some advantages. But as we'll see in a minute, you don't have to, you're not limited to that. You can also use other ones as well. But let's come up here and we're going to use let's see, we got serialization. Yep. Got this one called serialization. So I'm going to replace this one. I'm going to do %use. I'm going to say serialization and hit that. And you can see it's going to take a moment because it's pulling in the library for that one. And we can write some JSON. I'm actually going to copy and paste some JSON in for this one. And so here you can see I've got some JSON for a first name and a last name. And then I assign it to full name and do deserialized JSON. And interestingly, let me go ahead and run this real quick. And then down here, what's really cool is we can just say full name.first. And so the big mystery is, where did this class come from, right? Like I didn't create a full name class, but if I back this out here and evaluate that, you can see we've got a full name class. So where did that come from? Well, the cool thing is with the serialization plugin for notebooks, it will generate the class for you. Now this class is generated like between cells, and so we have to run it up here first. If I were to if we were to, let's see, I might need to clear this out. Not sure. Let's see. But if we do full name dot first, I think it's not going to resolve here. Yeah, not going to resolve, and that's because it's only going to be available in the next cell, or like it doesn't have to be the next one on the notebook, but it has to be like the next one you run. So so it automatically creates those, which I think is just really cool. Now we can also just use that generated class directly if we want. So if we want to say another name equals full name Cecil Seal, you can see that works just fine. And so we can use that generated class as well. We don't have to create those ourselves. So if the library that you want to use is in the supported list, you should definitely pull it in with the use keyword. As you can see, we're doing up here with use serialization. And that gives you like these kind of bonus features, right? Like the superpowers of getting automatic class generation, which is really cool. But if you want to use a library that doesn't have a supported integration, that's okay too. You can still do that. So for example, we might want to use a library to generate fake names. So to do that, I'm going to pull in with file uh, depends on. Make sure I get this running right here. 14.0, I think that's right. Let's give that a run, see if it finds it. Okay, cool, found that. And so now we can, now that we've run this, we can use that to generate some names for us. So in other words, there's no supported library for this faker, but we can pull it in just as a regular dependency and use its um, API as well. All right, cool. So we're about halfway through talking about notebooks, but I want to see what some of you are talking about here. So let's pull up some comments. We got Anton saying the great ability of the notebook is the out of order execution. Yep, of the cells. You can execute a cell, get a result. It'll be available in the other cells without rerunning the whole notebook. Definitely, yeah. That's why I kind of feel like this is like a better REPL in a lot of ways, because you kind of write all of your stuff and you can bounce up and down, bounce between the different cells and run one thing or run another. And in a minute, we're going to pull in some data from like with data frame, and you'll see how we can do the import of a CSV file in one cell so that we don't have to worry about taking up the time to do that every time we run this thing. We can just kind of run it once and it keeps it in that session, which is really really cool. So all right, let's see what else we got here. Compatibility. Alex is asking, what is the compatibility of the notebook extension? Could I use this outside of Android Studio and IDEA? Um, so and if somebody else wants to jump on this as well, feel free. But I do know this file type that you see here, the IPYNB, can be imported into, like, you can load it in other apps. Like I think VS Code might load these as well. So there are other apps that support that file type. You just have to be able to get the Kotlin kernel loaded in, and so that's probably going to be the main question, is how you would get that in there as well. And let's see. Why for KTOR and serialization do we use percent use instead of depends on? Yeah, so the percent use is going to be limited to the supported library. So let's come here and do help again. And you can see this has got a particular list. And this is actually, oh, yeah, thanks for sharing the screen there. This is actually also found in, there's a GitHub repository that has all of these. It's a little bit easier, I think, to kind of find it here. I wish these were in alphabetical order or something, though. That'd be nice. But you can pull in any of the ones that you see here. And these are going to be the ones that are like, they have a particular, they have particular support for notebooks. So things like generating the class that we saw with the serialization library. I think KTOR has some other, I don't remember what KTOR includes as well, but there's going to be something particular for it that where like it auto, configures things well for you for the notebook context, or gives you some extra superpowers, things like that. So if it's available here, you definitely want to use the use line magic to pull it in. And then depends on is really more for if you've got like a library that's just on Maven Central and you want to pull that in, or if you've got maybe your own code is published to your internal repository, artifact repository, that kind of thing, you can pull it in that way as well. And we didn't show it, but you can actually also add a dependency on your main code. So if we had a class that we wanted to use from this project, we could do that as well. Yeah, I think you have to just make sure you build the project for it to be available. All right. And so you have full Kotlin project behind. Do you need it, or could you run notebooks standalone? You'll need the instance of the IDE, but I believe you can come down here as a scratch file even and do a notebook there. So you don't have to have it in a full project. But if you want to pull in code from your project, or if you want to version this with your main code, that's where that would be most helpful. All right. And to further answer the question about use and depends on use as a convenience, with that, you not only import the libraries, but also inject predefined variables and objects into the notebook. So yeah, you're kind of getting that extra configuration as well, which is great. All right. And one more here. Can I recall a cell from another cell? For example, cell 14 runs cell 5. I don't know that there's a way to do that, but there is. Let me see, because you can do notebook dot and get access to the cells list. Oh yeah, I need to pull up the screen again. Sorry about that. You can do notebook dot and you get the code list, and you can even get a. I think you can get a cell, but the cell order again is going to be based on the order that you ran it in. So, for example, if I put 13 here, you can see 13 is what we did for this help. And I can do like dot code, I think. Is that right? Yep. Maybe it need to be 12. Okay, that's 12, which is up here. Anyway, but you can see we did get 12. I don't know why 13 didn't work. I guess maybe that's not actually code. It's more of a command. But you can get to it that way. But I don't know that you can actually evaluate it. Like that sounds kind of like you're saying, can you run it as sort of a subroutine? I have not seen that, but we've got some other experts here. So Anton, if you know if there's a way to run a different cell from another one, I'd be curious to know about that as well. All right. So notebooks are a great way to experiment with Kotlin code, but they're also often used for data science. And I'm definitely not a data scientist, but let's see what we can do with that anyway. Now, you might be familiar with the Stack Overflow developer survey. Let me see if I can find. I've got that here. So the Stack Overflow annual developer survey is a pretty big one. They put this out each year, usually get somewhere between 50,000 and 100,000 developers to respond to it. Includes questions about things like what technology you use, how long you've been in the industry, some other demographic information in there as well. And so what I did was I downloaded the full data set from last year's survey, which is licensed under the Open Database license. So you can pull it down for yourself from right here on survey.stackoverflow.co. And let me see where I put this one, actually. Make sure I get a copy of it. Downloads. I've been downloading too many things here. Yep, there it is. All right. We get the public CSV file here. And let me switch back to IntelliJ. And I'm going to open up. We do not have a resources, do we? Whoops, that's your Android for you there, huh? Let's do that one. Okay. I'm going to open this up in, let's see, I might be able to just paste it in here. Let's see if that works directly. If not, that's okay. Okay, yeah, we'll just open this in Explorer. Let me paste this in over here. Okay, great. Now that should show up here. Okay, so we've got the survey results public. This is the data from Stack Overflow's 2024 survey. And it's not showing here, but it is 150 or so megabytes. So it's not exactly what I would call big data by any means, but it's still pretty large for a CSV file. So I'm just going to click and drag this guy into the notebook here. And you can see we get this automatically set up for us with use data frame. It does everything we need it to read that CSV file. And you can see it's taken a little while. And this is why I was saying before, it's really helpful to be able to kind of segment your code for the things that really take a long time to process, where it'd have to read in this file every time. We don't want to have to run that over and over. So we can kind of put that in its own cell and then not have to run it more often than we would need to. So you can see here, I'm going to back this out just a little bit so you can get a little bit better view of the whole picture. So it loads in the CSV data from that file, and we've got 65,000 rows and 114 columns here. And so this is one row for each survey response, which is really nice. I'm going to rename this to raw so that we can reference it easier later. I need to rerun that again. And so we can get a very nice table style view for our data. We can page through the data. We can jump to the end. We can change the number of records per page. We can really do a lot of the things that you would expect to do with like a UI for a database. So pretty neat. Now that we've got this, though, I am interested in finding out about Kotlin developers in particular, and I want to split that up by region. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this down to just a few columns that I'm interested in. And this is going to be a lot like what you would do with SQL, where you would use a select statement. And so let's see how that looks. So I'm going to start with, we have the, I'm going to start with the new variable here. We're going to call it data. And I'm going to reference the raw data frame that we have above. And I'm just going to do select. And then you'll see here, we've got a, let me see if I can find the country column. Yeah, there it is, country. Let's jump back to the front, maybe. There we go. Now, I'm going to ask to select only country. And you can see I'm just typing country. I'm not putting it in a string. It's a property that got generated for us because of data frame ran up here in this previous cell. It's now generated the property for these columns, and country is one of them. So that's why we've got that country that's just got static typing on it, which is really cool. We can do and the other field that I want is this one right here. It says languages have worked with, which is a semicolon separated list of languages that this respondent has worked with over the past year. So I'm going to just type this out here as well. Language have worked with. Go ahead and get code complete on there. Very nice. Okay. And then I'm just going to type data here so we can see how that filters it down. And you can see now we've selected just the country and language I've worked with. And let's, I think the language have worked with is a bit much for me to type. So instead of that, let's rename it to just languages. So I'm going to come over here. Let's drop this down like kind of a usual operation chain. I'm going to see rename, and we're going to rename language have worked with here. We're going to rename it into languages. And I'm using a string here because the, this field doesn't exist yet. And so it hasn't been generated as a property for us yet. And now let's also, let's go ahead and run this just to make sure that worked. Yep, languages, great. Okay, and now I also want to be able to split up the list of, or this string of semicolon separated technologies or languages into an actual list that I can work with. So what I'm going to do for that is we're going to do a dot split on this guy. And now keep in mind, we renamed it, and we, like before, we can't just say languages here because that hasn't been generated for this cell. So that's okay. We'll just, I'll show you how you can also use the string. Make sure I spell that right, languages. This is kind of a interesting syntax for this. You can actually invoke it like this. So there's an extension function on string that you can call with a type argument that will get that property for you, which is kind of crazy, kind of cool. And then we'll say by, and then here's where we're going to split that string. So inside here, we've got that as, it's not showing there, but I think it should be as a string because that's the way we did on the left. And so we'll just split it by the semicolon. And then I'm going to do dot in place here. And let's go ahead and run that, and you'll see what that does. So that has converted our string that is only separated by semicolons into like a collection type that has each of the different languages as a separate element. And we have a few different options for the way that when we're splitting up a value from a column, we have a few different options for how we split that up. So here in place is what I actually want, but I'll show you a few others that are available. You can do into, and then we could say language, do that properly. And this is actually going to create a separate column for each one of those languages. So you see we got language 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So depending on how you want to split it up, you've got a few different options there. You can also do into rows So if you want, this is going to actually drastically increase the number of rows. You see we got now 322,000 rows. And so it's going to duplicate each of them every time that somebody had a language. So if you responded with 5 languages, you're now going to have 5 rows in this table. Anyway, so in place is what I really want here. So we'll go back to that. And that looks good to me. Now, the one thing is that we probably have countries that are null, and I don't really want to consider null ones for our purposes today. So I'm just going to filter them out, and we'll just say where the country, we only want the ones where the country is not null, filtering it to those that are not null. So let's run that and make sure. And that gets us down to 58,000, close to 59,000 records. So that sounds right. All right. Now, next, I would like to get a count of the number of survey responses from each country. So to do that, I'm going to come down here and create a new cell below this so we can keep what we've got up above. I'm going to say counts equals data. We're going to reference the one that we've got. And now we're going to do a group by, and this should feel pretty similar to any SQL that you've written. Got a group by, and then we're also going to do aggregate. Let me spell that correctly. I can do this, guys. I graduated from 5th grade a long time ago, so there we go. Nope. There we go. Got it. First try. Okay. Into count. We'll do that. And let's then print out the count. So let's call this counts. Refactoring. Yep, that's right. Just do counts. Okay. Run that here. And now we can see that we have 11,000 responses from the US, 3,200 from UK, 2,100 from Canada. So that gives us the number of responses from each country. That is great. Now let's also count the number of records where one of the languages for that developer is Kotlin. So I'm just going to come in here. Let's put these on separate lines so we can arrange this differently here. And then we'll say count. I'm going to say where Kotlin is in languages. And so this is going to actually use it as you can see it's like a list of strings. And so we're really just kind of writing Kotlin code where it's like writing Kotlin code for SQL in a way, which is kind of cool. And then we just say into, we'll just name this one Kotlin count. And let's run this. And that will show us the total number of developers who responded and the number who said that they're using Kotlin. So that's really nice. And then finally, we can calculate the percentage of Kotlin developers. So we can add a new field for that. I'm going to do this in another cell down here. We're going to say percentages equals counts. And then we're going to do, counts plural. We're going to do .add. We're going to call this one Kotlin percentage. And this is where we get into some of the kind of cryptic looking formatting from Java and all that, but just bear with this one here, and I'll explain what we're doing with that in a minute here. We'll do format, and we're going to just say 100. Let me scroll down here a little bit more if I can. Nope. Yep, there we go. So we're just going to multiply 100 times the Kotlin count field divided by just the count field. And then, yeah, this format, I always have to look this stuff up because I can never remember what's what. But this is just saying we're going to have leading zeros, and I'm going to do that so we can sort them in a minute. We'll have a total of 6 characters in there, and there will be 3 digits to the right of the decimal point. And then we've got a literal percent here. So let's just add this here to the end so that we can get the output, run that, and I did something wrong here. So let's see what I did wrong, because it's definitely not 0%. Actually, let me just copy what I had previously done. Try that. There we go. That looks more like it. Okay. So with this, we can see the percentage of Kotlin developers in each country. And we can also, like I was saying, we can sort this by percentage. So we'll do sort by descending, and we'll do Kotlin percentage. And now we can see that we definitely get the effects of having just a few responses from certain countries. So let's filter this down to just those that that had more than, say, 1,000 1,000 or more responses from that country. Let's give that a shot. And that gets us down to only 14 rows, but we'll probably have a little more accurate percentages on those. And so we can see that Netherlands has the highest percentage of developers who use Kotlin at 13.5%. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit for you guys so you can see this a little bit better. All right, there you go. Yeah, so we can see it gives us like a shorter table when I zoom in, but hopefully you can still see what you need. So yeah, so this is sorted by percentage of Kotlin developers. So we got looks like Europe is doing very well with Kotlin adoption, which is great. All right, and let's see. So oh yeah, if my camera's in the way, we can pull that out. That's fine. Do screen only. There we go. Yep, that'll be better. Okay, now finally, Notebooks is really like it has a great integration with a library called Candy, which is used for rendering charts and graphs. So let's come in here and add use Candy. This is Kotlin Candy, which sounds a lot like cotton candy, and now I'm getting hungry. So we can pull this in, and once we do that, we will get the library that we need for rendering the charts. Let's come in here and see what we can do with this. So the last one that the last data frame that we created was percentages. So I'm going to type that out here, percentages.plot. So that's going to instruct it that we're going to take the data from that last query result, and we're going to plot that out. Now I want a pie chart. So I'm going to do pie here and open up a new section. And then each slice is going to be sized according to the Kotlin count column. So I'm just going to do slice Kotlin count like that. And now that we're in a separate field, we can or a separate cell, we can reference all these guys that we had up here. And let's see if let me see if I can give this a run as it is and just kind of see what we get. Okay, yeah. So that gives us, we can see kind of like the percentages of developers by each country, but we can't really see which country it is. It's also kind of small. So let's do a few more updates to it here to figure out exactly which country these are corresponding to. I'm going to do fill color based on the country. And that also gives us this legend over here, which is nice. And I apologize, this is a little hard to zoom into on this one, but you can hopefully see that we got the legend here and the chart here. And now we've got little tooltips telling us which country each one of these represents. Let's increase the size of this, though, so that you can see a little bit better. Up this to maybe 25. There you go. That's a little bit better. And the grid, got the grid here, and that's kind of pointless. We can remove that as well. So I'm just going to come in here and do a layout block, and we'll do a style dot void like this, and that should get rid of the stuff behind there. That's great. And then we can just add a title to it as well if we want. So I'm just going to say title equals Kotlin developers by country. And this is obviously, I guess I should say respondents, since it's only those who took the survey. And give that a run. All right, and that looks pretty good to me. And we can even do some pretty cool things, like we can save this plot and save it as an SVG or whatever, share it with your friends. And yeah, so pretty neat. Like I'm really excited about the just the potential of notebooks. I hadn't used them much while they were in, like I used them just a little bit when they were part of IntelliJ IDEA Ultimate, but now that they're available for everybody, I think it's a great time to start looking into them and seeing what you can do with them, seeing how they might be able to help you with just exploring different things, using it as, you can pull in Ktor and use it to call your APIs and run different sections at different times. So really cool stuff, and I'm really excited. So thanks to the JetBrains team for making this available for everyone now. I think it's going to be a really fantastic replacement for what we had been using a lot of the scripting tooling for to be able to use notebooks. So I'm really excited about it. And yeah, I think if you haven't tried it out yet, definitely give it a shot. All right, let's see. We're just about up on time, so this is working out just about right. But I'm going to check in on you guys and see what you've got. Jordan's going to be at KotlinConf. Hooah! Let's see you there. Yeah, I can't wait. So flag us down, say hello for sure, and yeah, you can definitely get the grumpy stickers. And let's see. Yes, we did get CMP for iOS is stable. Yeah, we got a chance to talk through the article there that they had announced that in pretty recently. So. All right, and yes, had thank you for figuring out what it was I did wrong on the math there. Yeah, that was integer division that got me. All right. Well, that should about do it for this episode. So, thank you so much for being here today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy the show, do me a favor, hit the like button, and that just helps us reach more people. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, we would love to have you join us. We've got something new for you typically every 2 weeks, sometimes a little more often than that, too. And again, if you're attending KotlinConf this year, be sure to flag us down and say hello. We would love to meet you. So thanks so much for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you next time.